All right, so today we're going to talk about art, dance, and music and its relationship with mental health and how it helps mental health. To do that, we have three speakers today. Each of them are experienced in a way with one of these three or one or more of these three. First, we have Prarthana Kaushik. She is a Bharatnatyam dancer and she also has her own Bharatnatyam Dance Academy in Ponda. She's also part of a film production home, which is called Shri Mahalasa Production. And currently she is studying child development psychology. Prarthana?
Good evening to all of you all. First of all, I would like to thank Kelly for doing this and letting me be a part of it. And I welcome you all, and I hope you like today's session. Thank you.
Next, we have Arundhati Bilgi. She works as an architect and has a very avid interest in fine arts, crafts. She also has an account on Instagram where she exhibits her art. It's called Artistry. So if you would like, you can go check it out. She has her work put out there with another person. So Arundhati?
Hi, Kelly. Thank you for having me here. Nishi and Kelly, I'm really happy that you guys asked me to talk. And I hope that everybody enjoys what we're about to talk about. And I hope you can relate to it and take back something from it. So, yeah, thank you.
Right. And our third speaker for today, some of you, if you all have been for our previous two sessions, you all might already know her because she is also part of All Life Counseling. She is Nishigandha Deshpande. She's trained in Hindustani classical music and she works as an intern counselor at Protective Home for Women, as well as, like I said, she's a psychologist at All Life Counseling. Nishi?
Yeah, thank you so much, Kelly, for that. And I hope you guys have an interactive session with us. So yes, hope to do the best. Thank you.
All right. So artistic expression has been used in therapy for all of recorded history. The ancient Egyptians used it they directed people with psychological problems to engage in the arts. The Greeks used drama as a catharsis for exploring mental illness. After Even after the First World War, there were many reports of miracle cures of soldiers who did not respond to anything before, but miraculously responded to music. And even so, however, the arts in therapy became more prominent and better known after 1930s and the 1940s. Now, there are mainly, you could say, commonly known as 6 kinds of arts. There is art, which is where a therapist interprets and identifies the conflict and development of their client. There is music therapy, and this therapy is more effective for PTSD, Alzheimer's, and people on the spectrum. There is drama, where a client can just have a stage to himself and tell a story or tell his story however he wants to. There is dance, which combines the notion that body and mind are interrelated. There is poetry, which allows a person to just express himself through different forms of literature. And there is play therapy, which I think most of the therapists I know and I've experienced use this the most. And it's used mostly with people who are nonverbal or children who have low communication skills, or anyone who have limited communication skills. We are under this, the most new type of play therapy is sand play therapy, wherein you have a sandbox and you have tiny little figurines where someone tells a story of their issues or their life, and you just play through it. Now, our speakers today, Prarthana, Arundhati, and Nishigandha, all practice one of these three, not as therapists, but as people in general, like you and the audience and everyone else. And they use either one or two of these types of arts to express themselves, or as a therapeutic process where they use to relieve their stress. So they're not talking to you as a therapist, but they're talking to you as someone who has probably gone through something, and they're going to tell you their experience in how one or more of these arts have helped them in their lifetime. So I hope through this session you understand their experience, and also it motivates you to explore some of these arts. And if you do not have contact or a possibility to contact a therapist who can help you, maybe something like this, like drawing or singing or dancing or anything of one of these arts, would probably help you in a way. So I think let us start with Prarthana, who's going to talk a little bit about her experience with dance.
So, good evening and welcome to all of you. Those who have their videos on, or if you can tell me whether I'm audible to you all, it will be great. Am I audible? Just type in the chat box or just give me a thumbs up. Okay. So,
Yes, you are audible.
yeah. As today we'll be focusing on art as a medium of enhancing our mental health. I think Kelly has spoken really well about what art is, that there is so much of option available to us to choose, whether it's dance or music. What I also realize is that art is something really personal. What works for me does not necessarily mean it works for all of you all. You will have your own kind of taste in this art form. Basically, what art does is it appeals to our senses, especially our ears and our eyes. The art form that I have been practicing for quite a few years now, and the art form that I'll be talking about is dance, especially Bharatanatyam. Uh, for those who don't know, Bharatanatyam is one of the 8 classical dance forms of India that originated in Tamil Nadu, south of India. And one of the most important features that I realized as a dancer over a period of time is that feelings and emotions. And when I was preparing for this talk, I realized something, that emotion actually is a word that comes from Latin word of immovere, which means to move. And that's when I realized why dance and emotions work so well together. So I have been a student of dance and now I'm a teacher. I'm still a student, but now I teach. So many a times people are very skeptical about, especially when, there is this exam time, whether is it okay to attend dance classes, because what if it affects my marks? So what I realized is there is not a lot of awareness. To back it up, I have read some of the researches that say, that neurons, one of the researchers say that our neurons grasp other people based on what they feel and not what they think. So we become one, or we understand a person better when we understand how they are feeling, not what they are thinking. Then I also came across a research that that took place in Virginia, which compared dance, sports, and academics. Now, please don't misunderstand. I'm not saying academics is not important. It is very important. But they studied and they realized that students who took up dance or sports with academics, they had reduced stress level. It decreased their anxieties. in comparison to the students who were only focusing on academics. Even in then, dance is something that was 1% above to improve the psychological well-being. I'll tell you why this happens in a while. Another research says that people who dance tend to have a higher EQ, that is emotional quotient, understanding of our own and our own emotions and the emotions of others. And dancers tend to have a higher self-esteem. So now, dance as an art is a hobby for few. For some, it's their passion, and for some, it is profession. And some of the professional, if you listen to their interviews, they tend to say that it is a kind of a lifestyle that I live. It's not just something that I do; it's my lifestyle. So there are two wings to it, as Kelly in the beginning said. Dance is a performing art which has choreographed sequences and routines. There are certain rules that we follow. It is about skill, aesthetics, and expression, right? And dance movement therapy is a form of psychotherapy, wherein clinicians use movement, which is a part of dance, to address the issues of their clients, to help them, deal with their challenges. And if you wish to take dance movement therapy, it is not important that you should be a skilled dancer. You don't have to be a skilled dancer. But today I'll be talking as a dancer, something that I have learned from my experience all these years. So what exactly dance does is that it increases our mind-body connection. I think all of us here can agree to the fact that how our mental state is, it affects our body, and how our body is working affects our mental state. For example, suppose I have had a very bad breakup, we automatically feel like I don't want to move out of the house. I want to just, get into my bed and just not see anybody. Otherwise, also, when I have injured my leg, automatically I start feeling lethargic, tired, and sad. So studies have also proved this relation. So while dancing, our body becomes an empathetic receptor and responder to stimulus. And we as dancers work actively in this mind-body relation. So while we are paying attention to the body, our body awareness increases, because we are always focused on how much of pressure should I be putting on my leg, how much of pressure or jerk can hurt me, because I have a performance tomorrow and I cannot afford any injury. So that increases our awareness of our own body. When it comes to mind, if we are learning a particular routine or a dance item, we have to be focused, concentrated on that particular thing at that particular time, right? And mindfulness is one of the important features of it. If I'm dancing in a group, I just can't dance not in rhythm and not in sync with others. So you have to be very mindful enough for this. And developing this art form has actually made me have a pretty good insight of myself, how I am functioning in a particular day, how much can I take in a day. So all the dancers, I don't know if there are any dancers here, they will realize that there is another factor or another field that complements us dancers as yoga and meditation. It is a part of our training. We are all asked or trained to perform yoga before we start dancing, to warm our bodies. So all of us are quite aware of how yoga and meditation helps us. So this entire process of mind and body connection increases or positively increases our psychological well-being. For those who don't know what psychological well-being is it is the way I feel about my life. Yes, whether I feel good about my life or not, whether I can function effectively or not. So dancing and this mind-body connection helps us to develop a better psychological well-being. What dance also does is we have to exteriorize our feelings through movement. Say, suppose I'm portraying Kelly in my dance, or I'm portraying Nishi in my dance. I can't just dance like that. If my audience wants to be convinced that I'm Nishi or Kelly, I have to start feeling that I'm them. I have to put myself into their shoes. I have to kind of try and think like them and understand them well enough. So this helps us in our emotional maturity, understanding my own emotions, but also having a good understanding of what others are thinking. Because we in dance are expected to portray a lot many characters. Yes? So in this process, there is something in humanistic approach that tells us here and now. So when we are dancing, we are here and now. That's the most congruent we can be. And when we are dancing, because our focus is all about right now, our thoughts tend to become calmer. They slow down. So anxiety provoking thoughts and emotions start to take a backseat. Yes, and sometimes they go away for a while. So when they come back, we have a fresh mind to think about them. As yes, dance has many physical, they have a lot of physical benefits, like we stay fit, our arm strength is great. But what also is great is that we develop a good self-esteem. Our focus is improved. Our attention span increases. As dancers, we are expected to talk to each other, go up to new people and start a conversation, which is why our communication skills tend to improve, which in turn help us to develop our social skills. Our self-awareness increases, and fears and anxieties, we know what exactly makes me get anxious or what exactly scares me and how can I deal with it, right? So sometimes when I talk like this, I have heard these questions. Is it all philosophy? And is there any physical backing to it? Then yes. So when we dance, there are two hormones that get secreted in our body. One is dopamine and second is oxytocin that helps in rebuilding of our brain. Now, what happens is when we are dancing, our body absorbs the detrimental stress hormones and releases dopamine. Dopamine is considered to be our pleasure hormone, a happy hormone, right? So when we dance, we feel happy, our mood gets better, our memory gets better, and we feel motivated. Second one is oxytocin. This is a very, very personal experience to me. When I'm dancing, I can go for 1.5 hours. After that, I have to really work to push myself ahead. Not because I don't like dancing. I don't know. It's just I need more motivation. But when I'm dancing with my girls or my group, I can go on for 3 or 4 hours without a complaint. That is because when we dance in a group or partner dancing, secretes oxytocin, which is a hormone of bonding, which is why it automatically makes you happy and you want to dance with people and you don't feel tired at all. So this increases cell growth or it increases stronger motivation and excitement that stress automatically and naturally breaks down. And it promotes mental health and your muscle tension gets released. So for all those who are dancers and non-dancers, I would like to say that if you really want to take up dance as a hobby, or even if you do want to do it professionally, keep it simple in the beginning. Start simple. Even if you are a dancer, Bharatanatyam or any other form, start with tattadavus. or otherwise, if just play any song and just start moving to it, like groove to it, right? Uh, Secondly, maybe find a partner. Now, it is very difficult, we know, because of this pandemic to meet. Just Google Duo or Meet and say that let's dance together, Maybe change your workout or maybe change the style that you do. That is something that I do when I experience creative block or I cannot choreograph something. I will just play any Tollywood, Collywood, or Bollywood song and I just start jumping to it. And by the end of one song, I'm relaxed and I can actually now start thinking of new choreographies. If you really want to explore yourself in in whatever art form that you like, take up a class or maybe a basic workshop to find out what that art is, and if you're still interested, get into it. And even then, maybe you want it to be really, really clinically effective, then go get yourself a session of dance movement therapy, because it's great. It's okay to ask for help. And while I say that it's not only that, we have dance helps in psychology. Actually, psychology also helps dancers. How is that possible? Is in Bharatanatyam, we have Abhinaya. Abhinaya is the expression. It's the little term, Tamil term or Sanskrit term for expressions. And we have 4 types of Abhinayas. One is Angika Abhinaya, that is the body movement. Second is Vachika Abhinaya, that is the speech part. Third is Aharya Abhinaya, that is the costume. And the 4th one is Satvika Abhinaya. Satvika Abhinaya is the expression of psychological state. We have to be in a very calm mind if you're performing something. And that shows, that expresses really well. So dance and psychology, I am studying psychology and I learn dancing and I teach dancing. So I think I'm quite blessed that I understand both how these two fields complement each other. So I would just like to say, just dance, sometimes just take 5 minutes of your day and start dancing. Just move and you'll know, because as Martha Graham rightly said, dance is the language of soul of the body. So I hope you understood what I'm trying to say, and maybe someday we'll meet and we'll dance together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prarthana. Questions for if you have any questions for Prarthana, do put it up in the chat box and we will ask them later on in the question and answer session. And I think it's very difficult for dance to not have music. So on that note, let's have Nishigandha Deshpande speak about how music has helped her in her struggles.
Yes. Hi, I hope I'm audible to all. Cool. Okay, so thank you for that, Kelly. And I will talk about music. So as described by Aristotle, he was a philosopher, okay? So as described by him, music is a force to purify your emotions, okay? Just give me a minute, please. Yes. So, okay. So this means that any person, if they want to express, they can express through music. And that would be much more simpler, right? Music education is training in composing music or singing and using of musical instruments. So this is a base of music education. It involves more of musical skills. You need to be more perfect with the rules that are there, and how do you have like pitch, increase in pitch, reduction, all that. So it's all related to the musical skills. Whereas music therapy, it is non-musical skills. It focuses all on non-musical skills. Now, music therapy existed way early mid 20th century, and this was during the World War II, where the soldiers and people were injured and hospitalized, And when they were injured, there was this group of people who got together and decided to just play music and, sort of encouraging the patients in the hospital. And that actually showed quite an effect or an impact on them, and it was seen that their pain actually reduced. They could bear the pain that they were having. So that's how music therapy came into picture, and the curricular and all of it came into picture. And it consists of music interventions. Now, music interventions could be, it's a therapist who used to help and guide people with in relation to music. Now, for example, if the child has difficulty with speech and language delay, then the child is asked to sing a song, for example, A for apple, B for ball, and that's how they try to improve the child's speech and the language. Another example would be, if the child has a difficulty with motor skills, like motor skills is grasping and pincer. So if that child has a difficulty with motor skills, then the therapist provide them with drums, and they beat, they play, they create their own music with it, and that's how they improve with their motor skills. So these are the examples of how music therapy works. Now, I would like to focus more on music having a benefit on mental health. Now, as mental health is important to all of us, music plays a role in it. Now, how? Uh, I can start off with an example. Now, why do I feel that music actually has an impact? I was working in a school, and I got this opportunity to sing in front of the crowd. They were all kids and they were teachers. It was a small school. So when I got this chance, the kids were all in their own world. They were here, they were there, they were noisy, they were screaming, they were all in their own world. And when I started singing, all of a sudden they just became calm and they were listening to me. And that's when I felt that music actually is for any age group. It's not necessary it's only for people who are suffering with something and they want to listen to music. No, it can be for anybody. So that is what I saw. And it focuses music focuses more on processing emotions, thoughts and experiences. So you can express your emotions through music, or your thoughts and your experiences. Okay, it also elevates your mood and motivates you to do a particular task or anything. It aids as a relaxation. You can just sit with music and it's relaxing for you. It has an effect on your brain processing. How? As researchers say that there have been incidences where when you're listening to music, it releases dopamine. As Prarthana was explaining what dopamine is, it's a pleasure hormone that is released, and that improves, or that changes your mood, and it helps you to be motivated, right? So listening to music also makes an impact. It helps your brain efficiency. uh, Listening to music is good for health and heart, basically heart, because it stabilizes your heart. As this is all based on researches, it's seen that there is a balance in the heart rate and stabilizes your blood pressure. It improves your memory. Yes, I have an example for this. I remember once where my guru, Hindustani classical teacher, so he told me once that, Nishi, it is a fact that music can actually improve your memory. And I didn't believe that. I went home and I researched, and that is when I actually found out that yes, it does improve. So he always used to tell me that if you want to study, you can listen to music, and if you practice music, if you listen to music, it'll help you in improvising your memory. It music reduces stress level. Just listening to music also can reduce your stress level. It is seen that it is very healthy to listen to music. Coming to singing part, singing is linked with breathing. It's more like yoga. It's more to yoga. So if you practice singing, if you're not a singer, but even if you try to sing, it secretes, it releases endorphins. So this endorphins is hormones that is released in your brain and nervous system, which reduces stress. So it helps you to reduce stress. It can help you to bear pain better, and it can, as it is linked to yoga and breathing, it can help you to live longer, as research says. One of my personal experience about singing is, I remember once, when I was an undergrad, I was, my brother, he just gave my name to a singing competition, and that competition was just not a singing competition, it was intra collegiate. And that day I was not confident at all. I said that I can't do this, but my brother is like, you have to. So I went on the stage, I sang, I was all nervous, I sang, I finished it, and that day I felt that I can do it, and I felt confident. And later when I got like so many opportunities, I took that opportunity and I made sure that I sang the very best possible, and that improved my confidence. And that's my personal experience about singing. Music is also used, or it also benefits people who are suffering from depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, and other psychological disorders. Now, how? It's seen that one of the research says that children falling under autism spectrum showed a significant change in their behavior and social communication. Now, autistic uh, involves behavioral issues and cannot communicate. They do not have the social communication skills. So it was seen in a research that music actually has an impact on such children also, and it showed a significant change. So it's not that necessary to all. It's not necessary that everyone has to be or have an issue in life. It can be to anybody, right? Now, there's a small disclaimer here. We talk about the disorders, but see, I am not a music therapist, so I cannot do it. I cannot try and help someone who is having a psychological disorder, whereas I would recommend them to go to a music therapist. So please, it's just a piece of information that I'm trying to provide to you all, like how the music has an impact on mental health and other psychological disorders. So that's just a disclaimer. Okay, and coming to the end of it, now there are certain tips that I would like to give. Tips on coping mechanisms. Okay, so that would be, you can music can help you to focus or concentrate on on tasks that you do. Like, if you are, there are people who have told me that, I can study while listening to soft music playing at the background. And yes, it's not necessary that it works for everyone. It just works for few. Probably it could be that you do something else and you are listening to music, for example cooking. So that helps you to concentrate and focus. Second would be, it's a way to express yourself. So you can choose music to express your emotions. Now, I can give you a small example where at home, me and my dad, we communicate through music. We say that if we want something from the table or something, where I just communicate through singing and saying that, could you just pass me that? So we have this small communication through music, and that's how I have experienced it as a coping mechanism. Uh, Adrenaline. Okay, so this is where you can have music that you can choose to increase your adrenaline rush. Now, for example, it would be if you are working out, then you can play a music that pumps up your energy, and that's how you can work efficiently. Mind you, you cannot play such kind of music when you're driving, because then that will just go haywire. So don't do that. Coming to the last point is relaxation. So it helps you to relax. From my personal experience, when I am upset, when I am angry, I would just not talk to anyone. I will just go to my room or anywhere I am. I just plug in the earphones and listen to music. Or if I really want to throw it out completely, then I'll just go to the room, close the door, sit with music, or just sing it out, and that releases my stress. That's what I have experienced. So yeah, these are the ones that I try and use it much more often. I would also request you all to uh, try it out if you can. So that's all about music.
Thank you, Nishi. That was amazing. If anyone has questions after listening to our suggestions, any comments even, please put it up in the chat box and we will read them out. Now let's move on to the last speaker, who will be talking about using art as a medium of being a therapeutic process. So Arundhati.
Yeah. Thanks, Kelly. Am I audible? I hope I am. All right. Okay. So we've been talking and listening to so many art forms, and I'll be concentrating on fine arts. So starting with it, what is art? Art is basically a creative expression of yourself, of your ideas, and that this applies to all the art forms that we've heard till now, right? So it's in various modes. So there's dancing, there's art, there's, you know, various other things, music and everything. So what is therapeutic art then? Therapeutic art is basically concentrating or focusing on your inner experience. See, art is basically expressing your ideas, your imagination. Like as an artist will express his ideas of or what he imagines about the world, what he imagines about something, and he puts it on paper. Whereas therapeutic art is basically about focusing on your experience of that artwork, experience in creating that artwork. That is one of the most basic differences between the two. Art as a profession, when you're doing it professionally, you have a certain set of rules. So there is, you have to look at the color palette, you have to look at the scale, the proportion. So it's basically you're making something very beautiful and you're focusing on the end product. Whereas therapeutic art is, there's no right or wrong. It basically concentrates on the journey that you're doing. It's not about the product, it's about what you're, and how, when you're going through it, how that helps you is what therapeutic art is all about. So why therapeutic art? This I can tell you about my experience per se, that how it helped me, and I'll relate it to the points that are there. So it's basically expressing yourself, expressing your thoughts, something that you can't vocally talk about, something that you can't tell people. So for example, I'm a very shy person by nature. This has been very daunting for me to talk in front of so many people. So what I did before this was basically draw. So that is how it helps you. There are various methods of drawing, right? So there is painting. We know that there are painting, there is sketching, there is sculpture, there is collage making, which most of us do unknowingly. It's just that we don't know that it's a form of therapy, right? So that was the case with me as well. When I got into it, I had no idea that there is something called as therapeutic art. But as I went on doing it, I went on finding out about it. Now I know how it helps me cope with my stress, with my anxiety, with various other issues that we face normally. And I think these issues in today's day, all of us face, right? Like work pressure, we have things at home, we have some fight with our friend maybe, and we can't talk about it to somebody. You can't talk at home, you can't talk with your friends. In a world of social media explosion and all of that, we've just kind of closed off. And for me, art is something that helps me express that out better. How does that happen? So art for me is like, it helps you concentrate. First of all, what happened to me, I'll tell you, is that I got into it during lectures in college. I'm an architect by profession, so my work involves a lot of sketching. During lectures, I used to be like really bored, and I used to not be able to concentrate. So, what I used to do was basically just draw myself, draw my friends who are sitting beside me, in that position of, okay, I'm fed up of this lecture, and just make up a cloud and say that, okay, I'm bored. This lecture is boring. The funny thing was, after I did that, I observed that, okay, I could then listen to the lecture, what was going on. I could then listen to what was actually happening. So that then started helping me. So I used to, like, basically at the start, I used to maybe like just sketch something, draw something. My back of the books used to be, filled with all this kind of doodlings. So that's how it helps you concentrate better. Another thing is that it helps you boost your self esteem. Again, giving an example about myself, I had I'm supposed to create something new every day. I'm supposed to make something out of nothing, a piece of land, and I'm supposed to create something in it. How does not happen, naturally to me. And all of us, when we are faced with creating something new, we're, really scared of whether the person likes it, whether the person does not like it. So we have all these thoughts in our head. So what happens is I start sketching. When I create something, when I finish that drawing or that sketch, I have that sense that, okay, I did do something. I created something new. I created something different. And that boosts my self esteem. It boosts my confidence in knowing that, yes, I can create something. Yes, I can do this. So it is a way which expresses. Hello? Hello? Am I audible? Yeah. Okay. So that is another way in which, you can express yourself. Another thing is that it helps you cope with stress. Now, in everyday's life, all of us are mostly, we have works which involve 10 hours of sitting in front of the laptop. You're bored, you cannot do anything. Like, at the end of the day, you're just so fed up that you do not want to look at anything or do something. There are work stress which all of us are aware of. At that time, you just take 5 minutes of your time and then you just sketch up something that actually helps you cope with stress. Now, how does that happen? With various forms of art, I'll tell you, I'll concentrate on one form of art, that is doodling. Doodling is basically, it's drawing when you're absent minded. You're just, there's some thought that comes to your mind and you just scratch it out or you just draw it out. That is basically doodling. So how does it help? It helps your mind slow down, because when you're doodling, your mind is completely concentrated on that part or what you're doing. Doodling basically involves a lot of patterns, a lot of repetitive motion. And in order to create that repetitive motion, your brain is involved in that task. And that is one of the way that it reduces your stress for a while. It's not that you completely forget about your stress, it's just that it helps you deal with it better. It kind of helps you forget it for a while, and then it gives you a breather in between in which you can concentrate on your work later. That is one of the ways that it helps you cope up with your anger issues as well. So for me, I there was a point of time when I had like a lot of anger issues. I was very short tempered, and I used to have these outbursts which I could not express in front of anybody. And that was the time when I used to just go to my room and then start sketching. The funny thing was that art is also related to your mood. There is a research which says that when you're happy, you paint or you draw something very colorful, what you draw is very happy. There, like, you draw flowers, you draw nature, it's something very beautiful. There are a lot of colors involved. But when you're sad, when you're upset, when you're angry, it's all black and white. And this applies to almost everybody. So when I'm really upset about something, it's all doodling, it's all black and white. But when I am at peace, and my mind is at peace, it's all colors. You don't have to necessarily be an artist, you don't have to have special skills. I know a lot of people who see my work come and tell me that, you draw so well, I can't do that, I can't even draw a straight line. That's not true. It's You don't have to have a specific skill set, you don't have to have talents to express yourself in an artistic way. So doodling is basically that. It's just like you draw a box and you name Nokia on it, it becomes a phone, right? It's as simple as that. So you be it, even if you can't draw that well, even if you just make a tree look like a house, or you make a house look like some giant drum, that does not matter. You still have a laugh over it. Even if it comes out bad, you have a laugh over it. And that laugh actually reduces your stress. That laugh actually helps you, keep all your things aside for a while and just concentrate on that movement in particular. That's how actually it has helped me a lot. So doodling is another thing which research says that doodling is very helpful in memory retention. Just like Nishi and Prarthana were talking about how it helps them retain the memory. There is an example where some participants were made to listen to some particular experiment and they were just supposed to draw it out. So when they did that, there were a group of people who drew, there were a group of people who did not. After a while, when they were asked questions related to what they listened, the people who had drawn actually remembered it better. And drawing necessarily did not mean that you have to draw exactly what you heard. It's just a scribbling of what you heard. It's your interpretation. And that is the best part about therapeutic art, that it's your interpretation. You're not showcasing it for anybody. You're not doing it for somebody else. You're doing it for yourself. So your expressions come out, your words, your feelings. Does not matter how, does not matter if it's right or wrong, does not matter if it looks very bad in the end. It's the journey that you have enjoyed, right? That while doing it, you've let everything aside and you've done something, you've created something new. And that basically helps your mental health. Mental illness is, as we know, is completely different from mental health. A lot of people confuse the two, but they're completely different. Mental health is when you don't have a control over your emotions. You're not sound. That sound. You cannot control what you're feeling. You cannot express it out, basically. And therapeutic art forms actually help in that. So it does not mean that you need to go to a psychiatrist if you're not able to deal with something. These are few small things which actually help you get through your day. In the end, you're just satisfied that you've done something. You're able to accomplish something. So these, I think, are some of the forms that actually help you in that process. Another thing is that for those of you who are actually interested in art forms, especially doodling, there are books available. And these books are for kids, they're for adults, they're for any group of people, any age. So basically, it's just a drawing at one page. You just see that and you replicate it on the other page. So it's not that you have to have, like I said, need not have an artistic skill. You just replicate what is there. So what happens is, in an order to create exactly a replica of what is on the other side, your brain gets involved in that process. So what happens is your concentration increases. You want to create something new that boosts your self-esteem. It keeps on, when you keep on doing it, it relaxes your muscles, your body, it calms down your mind. and those actually help you get through an extremely stressful day or an extremely stressful time in your life. So these are some of my experiences which I have had with art, and I hope you guys could relate somewhat to it. And thank you for being here.
Thank you, Arundhati. That was really insightful, and a very good outlook and intake on your experiences with art and the whole process that you have gone through. Arundhati mentioned, I just feel like I should comment on this. Arundhati mentioned to clear up what exactly they are. Mental health is just your general mental health, like physical health. It's taking care of your well-being, your happiness, your stress levels, anything that could happen from day to day, anything that could bother you from day to day. That is taking care of your mental health. And when it comes to mental illness, it is something that you probably get diagnosed by, or that has been going on for a very, very long time. It's chronic, or it's or a psychologist or something, or anything listed in one of the psychology manuals that would put you in a category saying that you have a mental illness. So that's the only difference, and I thought I should just mention it because Arundhati mentioned it herself. If you have any questions for Prarthana, Nishi, Ganda, and Arundhati, please put it up in the chat box and we will read it out. Let me start off with some questions while I give you some time to think, the audience. So this is for Prarthana.
Yeah, tell me.
Yeah.
Okay. I lost you, Kelly. Your voice is like really stuck. Oh, can you hear her, Nishi? Is
put
it?
in the aspect of whether dance can be. Can you hear me?
Now I can hear you. Yeah, you'll have to repeat the question.
Okay. Is there a difference in how therapeutic dance can be with the presence of music and without the presence of music?
Music is always something that complements dance. That's what I feel. And even in dance and movement therapies, there are certain therapies they, don't really use music. It is just the flow that the client wants to take up. While others take up music, any soothing music, and with that rhythm, they move their bodies in the therapeutic session. And as per, I think, for dancers as us, uh, music is something very essential. Of course, we practice without music, but sometimes it's very difficult to perform without music. People wouldn't really perceive what we are saying. So I think that in the therapy, that's a choice that a client and the clinician make. But it's always, I think, nice because the way Nishi has explained the benefits of music, it's always good to have something bonus. So that's my point of view.
All right. Nishigandha, this is a question for you.
Yeah.
It's similar to Prarthana's, but instead of music being there for dance, what about, does it matter what the lyrics, like, some people hum. Doesn't matter what the lyrics are, or when you're listening to music, for that matter, it doesn't matter what the lyrics are to that music, that
Yes.
helps you change your mood or is therapeutic in any way.
Okay, it doesn't basically depend on the lyrics. It's more like your voice modulation that has an effect on your body. Okay, so it is seen in a different way. It's not that it's not that the lyrics matter. It's more like how you express it, whether it's high pitch, low pitch. So those modulations matter when you are to your mental health. Is that what your question is relating to?
To an extent, you answered
Okay.
as a person who sings. What about
Yeah.
as a person who's listening? Does the lyrics matter to me, who's listening to music?
Okay. If you see that people actually cry when they listen to music, right? So that is probably because they will have like an experience, their past experience where they have been going through a lot, probably, and that can be just like a trigger for them. So music can be like a trigger that they actually feel that lyrics, and that's how they they get it to their day-to-day life. So that is how it can relate.
All right.
Yeah.
We have, okay, it's not a question, it's more of something for Arundhati from Simi Verlekar. She wants to see if you can show her a drawing or a picture of what you had drawn before joining in the conversation in order to increase your confidence level. So Arundhati, if you don't have it at hand right now, I'll give you some time to get it. By then we will ask maybe Prarthana another question. So Arundhati,
You're on mute.
Hello? Yeah.
yeah,
I-
Arundhati,
Yeah, I
did
do
you hear
have
what
it
I
right
said?
here. Do you?
Okay,
So
yeah,
I think I'll just show it on the screen. Is that
yeah,
okay?
sure, yeah,
Yeah. So it's here.
that is really pretty. If you could, now this is just mine. How would
Yeah.
you explain that? How would you explain what does that express really?
Okay. So like I said, it's basically what is there in my mind. It's basically a conception that just happens randomly. So for me right now, since I have been doing this, it happens to be unconsciously. It's not something that I think about. It's not something that I plan. And since for me, art is basically a coping mechanism, it happens very unconsciously and very randomly. But yes, there is a thought associated with it. Like what I want to express does come out in that way. So since I was really, like I said at the beginning of the session, that I was really nervous about it. So this basically depicts my nervousness. Nervousness is, usually associated with not so happy feeling. And like I was saying, so when you're in not that good a mood, when you're angry, when you're upset, it's all black and white. So basically that's why it's black and white. It's a girl who is like, trying to just calm herself. If you can see, if you can make out, she's just trying to like breathe in and out, trying to calm herself, finding out where she is. So yes, it's that. So like I said, this has developed over time. So I wasn't this good an artist before. I don't know if I can call myself an artist because, like I was saying, artwork is really, I mean, I have seen artwork which is so inspiring. This is basically just my expression, which I cannot voice out, which just comes out. Right. So there is a thought behind it. I just manifest it into paper. That's it.
Well, that was really beautiful. And if it came out from your nervousness, I think a lot of us should be more nervous and more of these kind of feelings that we can produce something so creative and so beautiful. You said something like, you've been doing this for a long time, and that's why now it's just coming out unconsciously, and you don't really think about what to draw, and the concept just comes into your head.
Yeah.
So that comes to another question, in fact, asked by Anaga,
Yeah.
and she only asked this in for dance, but I think it applies to all three of you. What happens, or what would you suggest to a person who who hasn't been dancing or hasn't been practicing art or hasn't been singing for a very long time, and they don't really think about, these art forms, these forms, in a way that they should be using it to express themselves or therapeutically. So how should they start if they want to?
So can I go first?
Yeah.
So what I think is, if they have not danced for a while or they don't know how to start, just start. My suggestion is just start. It's never too late. And many a times when it comes to artwork, any kind of art, we seek for perfection. Don't start for perfection. Like Arundhati said, it will come. It will definitely come at certain point. But just start. Dance like no one is watching. That's the attitude you begin with, right? Even my guru had told me something, that even in Bharatanatyam we follow Natya Shastra, so there are a lot of set of rules that we have to follow. There is rhythm, there is postures that we have to follow. So he had told me that everything will come. Your body gets used to it after a point. It will come. Don't make yourself anxious about it. What you have to do is enjoy this process. If you're straining the entire process itself for one day when you will perform, you're actually, you're missing out on all this fun, the learning process. So have that, enjoy every bit of it. Don't seek for perfection right now. It will come. It will definitely come one day. Just start. That's what I think.
Anyone else has any thoughts on this?
Yeah, actually, I agree to what Pratna actually says. Like it means you just have to start. You cannot just be like, okay, I have to do it in a way. That's not how music works, or dance or art or anything. Like how Arundhati said it before, that I was not perfect, and then I started doing it, and slowly I became perfect. So that is what even I feel, that you just start off, and that's all.
Yes, I think it's pretty
Arundhati,
much the same. I think I mentioned this while talking as well, that it does not matter if your tree comes out looking like a cloud, or it does not matter. It's about what you're doing that matters, right? So this is, I think, for me the easiest, because you just grab a pen, you grab a paper, and you just start scribbling. Doodling is nothing but scribbling, so you don't really have to think about what is going to happen, what it will look like. It's more about the process, and the more you do it, the better it gets. So any art form, anything, basically requires practice. And this is, you don't have to do this as a profession, you don't have to do it professionally. You just do it to make yourself happy, to satisfy yourself, or you just do it so that all the other things, it boosts your concentration, your esteem. So yeah, just start off. Don't think about it, don't think much. And that would be,
all right.
yeah.
Since we are with you, Arundhati, there's another question for you, from Venetia. What do you do when you are ill-treated for your art, or you are not supported for it? Like, she loves doing art and it helps her feel better, but what if you're made to feel like it isn't worth it, or it's useless, or it's waste?
Okay, so um, first of all, my advice to you would be, don't concentrate on that, because like I said, it gets better with time. It gets better once you do it. Anything that you do, basically, or you always have criticism for it, whether it's good or bad, right? So that cannot really stop you from what you're doing, because if you do, then it makes no sense. You cannot stop something because people are talking about it, irrespective of its, if it's good, it will motivate you. If it is not, it's not helping you in any way. So yes, I did have people who used to keep telling me that, what is this? People kept laughing of, what have you done, or this is not good. I in fact had people telling me, why are you doing this? This is not what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be doing something else. But I never really listened to them because this is what actually worked for me. This is what helped me. So if this is something that works for you, this is something that makes you happy, this is something that, you know, works in a very good way, in a positive way for you, I think you should not listen to people. You should just go ahead with it. Don't worry about how it is looking. Like I said even before, when once you just start doing it, once you experience the joy of it, nobody can hold you back. Or more appropriate would be, don't let anybody hold you back.
I hope that answers your question, Vanessa, and I hope it helps you uh, in your further endeavors with art. Um, the next question is is an answer that is expected from all three of you. It's by Kapil Joshi. He asks, considering the current situation outside, how would you deal with deceptive ego, which leads to serious depression and suicidal attempts, considering these three forms which we heard about right now? So, art, dance, and music. If anyone wants to start it off.
Can you just break down the question for me, if you don't mind, because I didn't quite understand the question.
Right.
That's
The
okay.
question is, how would you deal with deceptive ego, which basically leads to serious depression and suicidal attempts, anxiety even, and how would you deal with it in your art form, dance?
So, with receptive ego, I understand different kinds of defense mechanisms, all kinds of, sad emotions. So, how I would deal with it is, I won't lie, this lockdown has been like really taxing. And there have been days that I felt completely low, right? But there is something about art. When you do it, there is always a product that you get out of it. Okay, and that product, I guess, is a slight motivation. That little improvement is a quite hope to to go on. That's how I look at it. Okay. With other art forms, it won't be right if I talk about other art forms, but that's how dance helps me with increasing uncertainty around me.
What do you think about how it could help someone who's not a dancer? Because some people don't dance, some people don't think of dance as the first thing that comes to your head when you are stressed or the situation is going on. You have dance to fall back on because you have been doing it for a very long time, just like
Yes.
Nishi and Arundhati as well. But what happens if you do not practice these kind of art forms? What if it's something that you've just heard of right now at the session?
Yeah.
Then what do you do?
So I guess even Nishi had mentioned it. You don't have to be a dancer to dance, or a singer to sing, or an artist to draw. uh, at the end of it, after just playing a music and dancing it out, there is a scientific thing that happens, and that's your body will release dopamine. Your body won't stop itself from releasing it, and dopamine will have its result or its effect on your body, and you will feel you will put yourself into a better mood. Maybe you don't need to know this theory part of it, but that is how you will feel at the end of it, even if you're not a dancer or not a singer or not an artist. So
Okay,
I think,
I would,
yeah.
sorry, I would like to add on to it. I have my personal experience where I listen to music, but then I play music that where I can dance and I can let it out. It's not relating just to music. It's a connection between music and dance, and that's how I try and express myself. And it's not that I have to be perfect in dancing. I just let loose. I just be like I'm just, I mean, twisting, turning. That's all. That's more than enough for me to just calm myself down, and that's how I do it. So I hope that answers with my personal experience.
Yeah, okay.
Arundhati, do you
Yeah.
have?
Yeah. Adding on to what she said again, yes, these have been testing times for all of us. And with respect to work, with respect to situation at home, being locked up, it's not easy for most of us to, not go out, or even like for a walk or something. We were not allowed to. And yes, in these times when you're holed up inside, you do have a lot of negative thoughts which come to your mind. And I think this is something that all of us have dealt with. But again, like they said, it's not that you have to have a specific skill set to be able to do this. It's more of finding your calling, more of finding your happiness. So it's not that you have to sing, it's just listening to music may help. It's not that you have to draw, looking at a drawing, looking at an artwork may help. See, artwork is into various fields, right? So I'll tell you a simple example of, drawing rangoli is considered as an art, right? Which, so it's not that you have to have a specific skill to do it. It's something that most of the households do every day. But that is something that makes you happy. That is something that will get you through. Okay, just looking at it will make you feel relaxed for a while. Having a conversation with somebody makes you feel relaxed for a while. Be it about a serial that you saw, because in lockdown I think we all were glued to the television or our laptops and looking at different things. But what we do is we keep it to ourselves. We don't talk about it. So talking is also very helpful in these times. And if you cannot do, like, I can tell from my experience that I cannot talk, so I let it out through art. I just do something, like, it may just be a space of, black and white. It may just be some amount of color. Because I was feeling low, I concentrated more on doing something very colorful, which would help me, feel better about it, which would help me feel happy when I looked at it. So it's not that they're very simple things. Basically, you have to do it in a particular way. It's more of finding your calling, finding what makes you happy. I think that is what it is.
Also, I think in this times of isolation, as I already mentioned while I was talking about partner dancing, if you know that somebody needs help, and you want to help them through any of these art forms, we have technology at our fingertips.
Yeah.
Just call up that person. Hey, this is the song we're dancing today, or this is the song. Let's just sing. Just video call and let's just sing it out. You can use these art forms in this way, and there is nothing wrong about it.
Right. I don't know if that answered your question, Kapil Joshi. Um, but thank you to all three of you. Also, to add on that, or maybe his question kind of reminded me to say this, because it had the word deceptive in it. There is a very fine line using these art forms or the arts as a therapeutic process to for the betterment of your mental health, and also fine line between that and fine line between that and um, using it as a coping mechanism, because sometimes coping mechanisms are not healthy. There are coping mechanisms that are healthy and there are some that are not healthy. So you need to see, or you need to understand for yourself, have you crossed that line of where this is healthy for me to keep going on, or where it is not healthy for me to keep going on, and if I need to get help from a therapist or a psychologist, or go see someone and talk to someone. Because as long as you're using art, dance, music, drama, any sort of thing to just express yourself, it's all right. But if you're using these forms to change your persona, or to be someone you are not, or to just get away from stuff and repress things or suppress things, then it might get unhealthy for you. So that is just something I would want to I wanted to add, and just to tell y'all. If the three of you, if y'all have anything else to add on, to say, to comment, any kind of advice to give to our audience, because we're running out of time now.
I just wanted to say that there is, when you begin with any kind of art form, just tell yourself there is nothing right and wrong. Just start with it and you will know the difference. It's very experiential in nature. When you do these things, how much ever I tell you, they might not sound convincing, but when you start doing them, you will experience the difference, and that's when you will believe, maybe. So just
Mhm.
start, and so enjoy.
Yeah, I think what she said is pretty much what applies to all of us. Uh, Talk about it. Like, if you have a difficulty, ask. There's nothing wrong with asking for help. There's nothing wrong with taking help. Uh, I was one of those people who would not really talk about it. I wanted to do everything by myself. I did not really, I felt ashamed in asking help. But once I started doing it, I realized that it's not wrong. It in fact helps you grow. You know, there's nothing to be ashamed about it. There's nothing wrong with talking about what you're feeling, expressing what you're feeling, and like she said, just go for it. Don't keep thinking of, okay, maybe I will do it sometime. No, just go for it, because it gets better. And this is with our own experience that we're talking about, that it does get better. Also, if you do feel like talking, you should go ahead. Like, for example, help need not necessarily mean asking somebody or talking to somebody. Like, for example, if I have something in my mind and I don't know how to get it on paper, I just look for ideas which are similar to it, right? So there's nothing wrong with looking for something similar. There's nothing wrong with looking for something that will help you. It's basically for yourself. You're not doing it for somebody else. So yeah, I think my advice would be just go for it and talk about it.
Yeah, I think Arundhati said it all, that you should talk about it, and also remember how remember and try to understand yourself, even though you're using this to express and to try to better your mood. That if these forms of art do not help you in any way, to do not help you for a long period of time, and if your mood is not changing, if you feel that nothing is changing, then I I think and advise you to go and speak to someone. And that is the most important thing, where you recognize for yourself that, you know, just me using a process like this is not working, so I need help from a professional. Nishi, do you have any last words?
Not really. They spoke quite a lot, and they said it like what you have to do. So yeah, I just have nothing to
All right.
say.
All right. So thank you all for coming here, the audience. You were very interactive, and I appreciate it. I hope we could answer your questions to the best of the knowledge and to how much we understood. We're sorry if we didn't get to answer any questions, or if we weren't able to clarify certain things. Thank you, Nishigandha, Arundhati, and Prarthana, for taking your time and speaking with us and coming to this session and sharing your experiences with everyone.
Thank you,
Thank
Kelly,
you.
for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Thank you, Kelly.
Right. Arundhati has a page on Instagram called Artistry. So do go and check that out for her art, and you can see what it's like. Um, yeah, we also have our page on Instagram, and we're going to put up the session. Someone asked if we could record the session. This session is recorded, and it will be up on YouTube. So you can go watch it there. It's all live counseling. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Have a very good evening. all of you.
You too. Bye.